Okay, so the new Fast and the Furious movie
Fast
is
X.
is out and has pulled in 330 million on the opening weekend. So what's worldwide box office? And so it's broken even. It could still make a lot more money, but so it seems to be doing okay right now. But it really begs the question: how long should a franchise go on? Because if you look at this new Fast and Furious movie, it's straying further and further from the original vibe, the
Yeah,
original
man. Oh my
concept of the
god.
movies. So it begs a larger question: how long should things go on, and how long is it really the same
Yeah.
franchise?
Well, obviously, Fast and Furious should have ended once the street racing, racer, tuner car stuff started to phase out. That was the original appeal of these movies, like racing and cool fast cars and whatnot, and like the stars and the cast and everything. But now, Fast and Furious is tanks flying out of the sky and armored cars and guns and weapons, and it's absolutely insane now. It's lost its essence. They should have ended a long time ago. And that's a general public consensus. Everybody's talking about how the hell is Fast and Furious still going? Why hasn't it ended? It could have ended on 10. Like, that's a perfect way to end it on. When you've gone this far, 10 is where you should end it.
It would have been nice. Look, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the Fast and Furious
No,
franchise.
I'm not a big fan either. I like the first three.
Yeah, so in a lot of ways, we're talking out of our ass, but
Yeah,
it's
but
opinions and these are movies. It's not that
Yeah.
serious. Who gives a fuck?
we all
But-
know it's absolutely ridiculous how far these movies have gone.
Yeah.
There's actually written in the contracts of Vin Diesel and The Rock that they can't beat the shit out of each other too much.
Yeah.
They have written in their contracts they're not allowed to take this much of a beating from this character because there's a reputation they want to keep up their characters in these movies. It's just absurd.
Well, they're just big time actors, and it's a big time moneymaker movie, so it kind of has to, and they're holding up the whole franchise, so they have to
Yeah,
bend to
yeah.
them. I mean, look, I would be okay with something like Fast and the Furious continuing on. I mean, I am okay.
It's
with
it's
it. I
kind
don't
of
have to
become a
watch it.
novelty, you
Yeah,
know?
but you know what would be cool if it continued on in the vein of the first three movies.
Yeah.
And I think what it could have done with car stunts could have been incredible. And I have
Yeah.
no problem with a series that finds its niche and just sticks to it and does
Yeah.
it really well and doesn't take itself too seriously. And I guess Fast and Furious doesn't take itself too seriously, but
If
I
you're
don't know, it
supposed
just-
to go to just
yeah.
enjoy the action.
it just seems a bit much.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But at the end of the day, I don't have much of an emotional stake in it.
No.
I mean, if we're going into another franchise that people talk about going on too long, but I will
Yeah.
defend, is Halloween.
Yeah. There are a lot of different iterations of Halloween. Some of them aren't canon in the universe, and some are spin-offs and whatnot. And that kind of spawns some good Halloween movies. I like the Rob Zombie one a lot, and a lot of people like that one too, just because it's a bit of a different take on it. Seeing Michael as a kid and everything, but the horror genre gets it pretty bad when it comes to stretching these series out. But well, I don't know. What's your opinion with Halloween? I thought it kind of crashed and burned with the last one.
Look, as far I'm just gonna let the viewers know my computer is very old and I need to get a new one.
Oh, is
So
it
if
on the fritz right
yeah,
now?
if you see me closing the lid, that's what keeps this thing on. I don't know why, but it
All right,
does.
whatever. Do your thing.
Point is, how do I relate that to Halloween? Just like Halloween, this computer is ending on a bad note, according to some people.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Halloween has come back from worse, a lot worse,
Yeah.
than that movie.
Yeah.
And is certainly
That's
has a lot
really
of,
true
yeah.
because the 2018 one, it was fantastic. I think I liked it a lot. And the one after wasn't bad.
And if you even look at movies that were initially not well received with Halloween, later they have a cult following. Seasons of the Witch doesn't
Yeah.
even have Michael
Yeah.
Myers in it.
Yeah.
That's a huge
Yeah.
flop to try and come back
Yeah.
from. And now it even has a cult following, and it's a horror to me is in its own thing. It can kind of just keep going
Yeah.
forever. It's not something that needs to take itself that seriously because I don't know how much the plot mattered, and
Right.
like the
Yeah,
characters
exactly.
in something like Halloween.
When the new Halloween comes out, everyone wants to know like what kind of kills Michael is making and how gory it is, and that's what people come for. But the last one, Halloween Ends, Michael was barely in it. He was pretty much had 2 or 3 scenes. Majority of his screen time was in the last 30 minutes. They really strayed away and ruined it. I don't know what the hell they were thinking making that last one, but there you go. Another series ended that leaves a bad taste in your mouth, but it'll be back.
But like I said, they've done a lot worse. Like
Yeah,
even a whole
they
movie
could come back
without him.
again. You know.
So I don't really get when it comes to horror movies. I'm not as passionate about it.
Yeah.
Same for Saw.
Saw. I feel like with Saw, like after you've seen a couple of the Saw movies, you've kind of seen it all. Like they're all pretty similar, and you come for the same gimmick every time of these games and these traps and how people escape them and how it makes your skin crawl and whatnot. But the Saw movies aren't too terribly received. A lot of people get really hyped for when new Saw movies come out, but there's a ton of them, and like you gotta know when to call it quits sometimes.
I really enjoy Saw, and yeah, it's kind of gone on too long and probably has ruined some of its legacy in a way. Some would argue, but again, similar to Halloween, like I don't really care.
Yeah, it's fine.
I enjoy it for the most part, and I like the whole morality and the kind of I guess philosophy
like that
behind it
too.
is
Yeah.
very interesting.
Saw has a lot of rewatch value.
Yeah.
When you're kind of in the mood for Saw, you really kind of enjoy watching it. Sometimes you want to watch a pretty disturbing movie, and Saw is always there for that.
And Jigsaw's just an interesting character that I said.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to Saw than Halloween, but like I kind of like the mythic stuff of Halloween and like the curse of Michael Myers and how you can't really kill him. I kind of like that. There's not much there as much as there is in Saw. I like the morality, as you said, in Saw, and like how people are punished to people who deserve to die.
But even his own moral code, he's corrupted.
Yeah.
And, kills people out of his own pride and his own need for revenge. I guess it's some sense of revenge. And there's some games and some traps that he makes unbeatable. So it's
and this goes like
Pretty
Friday the
interesting
13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy and Jason, and even Scream. I can't believe we didn't write down Scream here, but we got a brand new Scream movie that's out now, and
Scream is in a league of its own too. To me, is even more
Yeah.
because to me the first Scream movie is one of the greatest movies ever
yeah,
made.
yeah, it's a Halloween classic. I just caught it again last year. I pretty much watch it every year.
Yeah.
It's a great one. I love it's so goofy, campy, cheesy. It's fun,
That's and it seems like a lot of horror movie series. Scream, you don't really. I guess you could put it in that category, but to me, I just look at it more of like just a spoof
Yeah,
comedy.
yeah,
that's
yeah,
really,
yeah.
really well.
Now the tone has
well made.
changed since the originals. It's not
Yeah.
really spoofy anymore.
But that's what I'm getting to. Like a lot of horror movie series start out with one really beloved
Yeah.
classic movie that kind of stands on its own and tries to be its own movie, and then all these other ones that just follow
Uninspired.
that are become more uninspired and feel less and less connected to
Yeah.
the original feeling that the first movie would have given you.
Same goes with Purge. The first Purge, everyone was like, wow, that's a really interesting concept. And because Purge is kind of sunken in reality, we all kind of put ourselves in their shoes. Like, what would we do if the Purge was real? And after the second, third movie, it's worn off. I don't really care anymore. It's gone too far, but it loses its touch. If they wanted to make more money, make a couple movies, end it, and then make the big return, which many series have done, and you bring in a lot more cash that way. But a lot of these series just end up churning out new movie after new movie, and each one, as I said, becomes more uninspired than the last.
Yeah, but like I said, it just for some reason with horror movies, it doesn't bother me. It almost just feels like it's leaning in more to what it's supposed to be.
It's just more horror content to enjoy. People just like to have that slasher log of disturbing, creepy movies to watch. People like horror movies because they're bad.
Yeah, and even the first Halloween, look, that movie is beloved for a reason and is considered a classic for a reason because it's pioneering
Yeah.
and set a lot of the standard for what a horror movie was supposed to be. But at the same time, like, it's not like this amazing masterpiece of depth and like characters and script writing. And I don't mean that to sound pretentious. It's still amazing, and I like it better than a lot of, or I like it more than a lot of movies that are better written and have deeper characters. But horror movies just to me always feel like something that it doesn't have to be taken so seriously. It doesn't have to be something that necessarily holds up to some high standard.
And I think Halloween in particular, the like 2018 one is a sequel to the original one, but it's a nice retelling and it's a nice reintroduction into our new age. And the new movie obviously was made for a new generation, and it does that really well.
Hey, but that new Halloween movie,
the newest one or the start of the new one?
Sorry, the start of the newest one. The new Halloween movie, as far as self-titled.
Yeah.
It's this starting of this new franchise, this new series. In certain ways, it's the Force Awakens of the Halloween franchise, but there's enough that's different. But I think Halloween has had a lot of that. It's just meant to kind
we're
of
not
reset.
as
Rob Zombie's thing too is just a remake, right? So
we're not as picky, as you said. We're not as picky as horror.
Yeah.
So the 2018 Halloween is looked at as a fantastic movie through and through, and realistic. Like if you want to like actually rate how good it is, it's on paper not that great, but everybody enjoys it because they did a good job at rekindling the old feelings that the original one gave you.
It's good for what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, in
terms of horror, you know,
I really got to dig in more to horror movies that are on the level. How do I put this? Horror movies that also are very deep. I wonder if there's probably like a whole subgenre of that I just haven't tapped into. And
like in between horror and thriller, kinda, or
Thriller is probably, I like it more than horror.
One of the best genres for sure is thriller.
Well, nothing that gets me hooked, and I like it best in a show format.
Because thriller evokes feeling, and it tries to disturb you and move you and get you excited, when horror is just shock value.
And I'm not really that into that. I like finding a limited series that's, X amount of episodes, probably like 7 at most, and I just end up binging all of it or half of it in like a day because it's just, I can't.
That's what it's there
turn
for.
It off, right? Yeah, and it's getting. Look, we do a podcast talking about movies. We've grown up loving movies and TV, and spend a lot of time with it, and it makes you more picky.
Yeah,
and
it does.
I find it's getting harder and harder to hold my attention. Like it's just there's more and more barriers I'm putting up, which is on me.
Yeah.
Which is wrong, but I also feel like you just start to know more and more what you like. And just when you examine something so deeply, I just find you eventually get picky. You can kind of appreciate everything, but as far as what's really going to keep you totally invested and excited and what you want to watch, I find it gets harder and harder for me to find. And thrillers, it's never an issue. Like, all the way through.
There always a bit more thought put into thrillers. And
they can even be bad.
Yeah.
And I would probably still watch it.
Yeah, just because it evokes more emotion, as I said. But
again, like horror
gets a pass for the most part.
Pass. It's a different thing. Now, when I do get passionate or emotional,
let's get into it.
There's parts of the Caribbean. Look, I mean, you've heard us complain about this, whine about this.
Let's not stay on it too long, but
so a lot.
We both know it should have ended on the third title.
Of course.
Third title was already on a bit of a decline.
I don't like that movie. I don't like that
the others. But if you were to draw a line in the sand, it'd obviously be after the third. That's when the story pretty much concludes, right?
Yeah, there's a nice. I will say the first two movies are tied together nicely.
So well, very seamless between the second and the third.
And
picks up and it keeps going.
And I just love. The movie has such a classic Hollywood vibe to it, in the sense that just. It starred some of the biggest movie stars at that time, And to me,
They played their role
yeah,
so well.
aside from plot and tying the story together, and right, it's just the fact that they lost the cast.
Yeah.
That's what's
couldn't have
central
come
to
back
Pirates
from
of the Caribbean. There is no Pirates of the Caribbean without Jack Sparrow, Elizabeth Swann, and Will Turner. It's not.
Barbosa too. Well, not
Yeah.
really, but the second one thrived without him. But then they brought him back, so
I would just say those three. In
yeah, the
particular.
three protagonists for sure is what makes the original three so great.
Yeah, that's the X factor, and that's what I just love about it.
They became a clown fest. The last two movies, in my opinion, the story wasn't as thoughtful. The whole Will Turner and his dad bootstrapped through the family genes and the curse and how it's all tied together. Even the Curse of Davy Jones was really well done, and there's so much rules and it's intricate and whatnot. And they did the magic mystical things, with the curses of Davy Jones and the Black Pearl, but it really went out the window with the fourth and fifth films.
Yeah, it really did, and the franchise really started to show cracks pretty early on. Even Dead Man's Chest, I finally come to the conclusion that I do love that movie.
Yeah.
But I would say it's a very inconsistent movie. There's lows, but just the highs in that movie are so high.
Yeah.
And the whole element of Davy Jones and his crew and the Flying Dutchman, and that whole element of world building and adding to the whole lore.
Yeah.
The franchise was very interesting. And is this the most successful Disney live action franchise that they didn't buy?
Oh, interesting. For sure, it's up there. Pirates of the Caribbean, for sure.
And it's still kind of a middleweight thing. They've kind of never been able to do it. It started really strong,
Yeah.
but it doesn't make the same.
I would say that
impact
for
now.
sure. Something I wanted to say about Pirates of the Caribbean, like I remember growing up with it, and I saw the first one, on DVD. I was too young to catch that in the theater, but I saw the second one in the theater, and when you're young, you just listen to what the older people are saying, right? So I remember my aunts and uncles, my parents and whatnot, like vocalizing that the second one was long, but they enjoyed it. And when I went with my friends and family to see the third one, I was still just paying attention to what the adults said, and most people were. With the third one, it was apparent how long it was, and it was more difficult to get through, and it didn't hold your attention as well. But we're extra picky with Pirates of the Caribbean because we're kind of purists with it. We grew up with it. We love it, but it should have ended a lot sooner, right? Same goes with Indiana Jones. It's going to be a big topic this summer. With
They're
the
saying, speaking of
the
an
critic
update,
reviews are poo-poo.
they're saying it's bad for the Dial of Destiny.
But that's Rotten Tomato
That
critics.
Call that though. No, sorry. I just don't.
No
I don't think it's
confidence
gonna be very
anymore.
good. I don't think it's going to be very good. But I held my tongue a bit when we talked about it the first time. But I don't have a lot of. I don't think it's going to be good. But I guess
heard
part of
it
me
was
hopes
cut
it
up.
is.
Reshoots cut up a lot. I don't want to talk about Indiana Jones too much because we talked about it a lot, but they should have just left it the way it is. I would have been. You said last time you would have been happy if they just left it with Crystal Skull. Like,
Yeah.
over time, you learn to accept Crystal Skull a bit more, even though it's obviously not as great as the original three. But
Should they have probably ended the Last Crusade? Probably, but
yeah,
I'll
no.
take Kingdom of the
If
Crystal
I
Skull.
had a choice, it would be for them to leave it with.
I don't know if
three.
I would. I don't know if I would.
Really?
I like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull enough to
It's
just,
fun.
to just leave it. Yeah, okay. If I'm talking objectively, should they have ended on Last Crusade? Yeah.
Yes.
And would that have been a better note to go out on? Yeah, but I don't hate Crystal Skull
No, I don't
enough.
either.
It's a drop in quality, but I don't hate it enough to be like, I don't want it in the.
We praised it a ton last time we talked
Yeah,
about
exactly.
it.
And it feels enough like an Indiana Jones movie to me. And to me, it almost feels like a nice fitting, I don't know.
Wasn't a bad conclusion.
Yeah.
Wasn't a bad conclusion at all.
And this one, he's probably going to be a lost, wandering old man.
Yeah, and it's just gonna ruin the reputation. A lot of people, Indiana Jones just goes over their head now. But I liked when Indiana Jones was a bit more of a cult classic type of thing,
Yeah. Well, It seemed like it felt like somewhat that it kind of reverted back to us. I mean,
The cult classic that could.
yeah, I mean it was pretty big in its day, but I
Yeah.
feel like in our time, yeah, at least especially for kids,
Yeah.
it didn't feel that.
The 2000s,
Mhm.
90s into the 2000s, it was kind of like that. But something now that gets a little bit more controversial, the next three we're going to talk about, or some light, Jurassic Park was something that probably should have stayed a bit of a 90s thing, but they're back and they're pumping out Jurassic Park after Jurassic Park after Jurassic Park, but they're kind of well received.
The era, they're well received, but I wouldn't say that they're like. I don't think the movies that'll last long. I
No,
think they make a lot of money now, but I don't
they all
know
blend.
how remembered they'll
All
be
the
to
new
be.
ones blend into each other.
Nobody's remembering the
No,
titles.
I was about to say that. I couldn't name one of the new Jurassic Park titles.
And then it's like a lot of franchises. It starts out as one really groundbreaking, amazing movie that kind of changes the game and is very original and stands on its own, and then it's followed by a bunch of imitators
Yeah.
that are diminishing returns over time. I gotta say though, like good for Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
Every time I think of Jurassic Park, I'm like, oh yeah, he's in it, and
This is pretty ambitious, right?
it's crazy what he started out as in Parks and
Yeah,
Rec. And
it's.
what
I always
he
like to
is
go
now.
back to that for sure. His humble beginnings.
But I love that kind of acting arc. It's a very interesting career.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
a lot of range.
Jurassic Park. It's just they don't. The new ones don't capture the essence of the original. Like the original one wowed people because they never seen nothing like that. People believe those were real dinosaurs. It looked real, and it was almost like fairy tale, like how special it was. The
Well-
original Jurassic Park and the new ones don't really evoke that anymore.
The effects would have stood out more in 1993 than now.
Yeah,
Now it's harder to get a movie on successful off that alone
yeah.
because the game has just been raised. The stakes have been raised.
Because back then you watch them and you're like, how did they do that? It looks so real. It looks so good. And now when you watch it, it's pretty good CGI, pretty good visual effects, and that's all that. That's that,
I
right?
feel like people don't even think about it for the most part. I think it's just
Yeah.
that's what's expected. Movies are supposed to look good like that.
Yeah.
It's not really part of the entertainment anymore.
No, it's not. It's
Or
just.
I guess it is in a way, but it's almost.
know.
I don't think people think about it as much.
New Jurassic Parks. A lot of the new generation, the young kids, are pretty into the new Jurassic Park movies. There's a lot of merch, a lot of toys. Like it's a big thing. Maybe just Jurassic Park isn't our thing because we're older, but
I don't. But you can tell a difference. But
some good came out of the new ones. That's
Yeah.
all I'm gonna say about.
but I'm
that.
not emotionally attached to
No.
the series either.
Now you put Back to the Future. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the Back to the Future is the perfect example of ending at the right time.
Yes.
3 is kind of the magic number. If you look at almost any franchise, it's the first 3 where
Yeah.
they really make the mark and are usually considered the best.
We're lucky to have Back to the Future and have it stay as a good trilogy. Probably one of the best trilogies.
It's one of the best trilogies. It's a perfect run, and there's a lot of debate about which one is the best. I will say the third one is kind of the weakest and is
Because the
critically
first and
weakest.
second go hand in hand.
Yeah, but I've heard both that the first one's the best, the second one's the best. I have a hard time picking, and they're very well done as far as continuity wise.
Yeah.
They're very smart movies.
Yep.
A lot of great action scenes, I would say. Like
Yeah, it's
even
family fun too.
yeah, I like the train chase scenes, even
Yeah.
though those are corny. The movie wraps up things nice, happy ending, and knows it's a family action movie.
And it's good. Look, you can't tell me this without smiling because it evokes good memory and there's some passion there and you're happy with it, happy memories. And I saw a quote from what's his name, Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah,
No, it wasn't Christopher Lloyd. It was the other homeboy. What's his
Michael
name?
J. Fox.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox is Marty McFly.
Yeah, he was talking about if they were to remake it, they're talking about who would play the new Marty McFly and who would be a good. He really doesn't care. He's like, so I think it's possible for them to redo Back to the Future for sure.
I don't want them to do it. I've heard that the creator, whose name escapes me, I should know, doesn't want to do it is against making any kind of
Yeah.
new one, but it could happen. I hope not. Um, I think it's nice to have it the way it is and completely unspoiled. I will say that,
I hope it stays like that, you know?
but to be in the interest of being unbiased, I will say what you sacrifice with having a perfect trilogy. Back to the Future is not going to have the staying power of any of these.
No, but
franchises.
that's okay.
It's going to be. That's what I'm saying. It's stuck, but it's going to be stuck in that time because it's lasted a while. It's still
Yeah.
pretty relevant, but it's not going to be as relevant for long as these other franchises that we talked about because it's eventually it just gets too old and it's just it looks too old. The effects are too old where
Yeah.
people just can't get into it. We saw that. We've probably talked about it before when we watched A New Hope
Yeah.
with our friend.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right. And I thought, they couldn't get into it, and I'm just like, well, I can't blame them. This movie
Yes.
it's just too old
ages
now.
old, yeah.
And the reason Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, right, Halloween,
Now-
Pirates of the Caribbean have
Yeah.
been able to stay relevant in the pop culture zeitgeist is because they continue to put out new products. But I would argue it's just better to let things die because then we get some cool new stuff.
But now you have people from the newer generation who are watching the newer movies and they're like, oh, they're not that good because they don't evoke the emotion and what's special about the original and why
Yeah.
people like the original. They don't get that because they're just watching the new ones and judging the series as a whole based off of the new ones. Or people from this generation watch the old movies and they can't connect with them because they're so old.
Yeah. But I feel I suffer from that too. Like if I were to try to watch an old action franchise now that I wasn't into when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I don't think I could get into it. It's as good as it is. I find a lot of action from back then. It looks too corny. Like obviously, okay. I just mean straight up like cheesy action movie, like kids action movies. Like obviously,
Yeah.
Apocalypse Now is still like
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
But you know what I mean. So I feel like if you didn't see it when you were a kid, the old movies, it's gonna have a hard time sticking with you.
Yeah.
And I feel like Back to the Future is holding up well for now, but it's getting past that time. The 80s was like
Yeah, it's
40 years
phasing
ago.
out. It still has a bit of a foothold in pop culture. I see.
The DeLorean's still iconic.
Yeah,
which is badass.
that's what I mean. You know, the orange vest and whatnot. It's still around, and I just hope they don't ruin it. They probably will. When it comes Back to the Future, it wouldn't be a continuation. It'd be a straight reboot, in my opinion.
No, yeah, it would be a straight reboot for
Complete
sure.
redo.
Everybody's way too old.
Yeah.
But I mean, and just Back to the Future side note, I love movies that have a car associated
Right.
with them.
Yeah.
I love it's always.
That's why
a
I
side note.
first liked the original Fast and Furious movies, you know. Had the cool Supras and Skylines and stuff that people associate with those movies. But there's something I wanted to say about Back to the Future, and I just lost the thought.
I'm just saying. I'm gonna say again, car movies with the signature car, badass. We got Death Proof
Death Proof.
over here, Smokey and the Bandit. If you want to go really old,
So that's been a thing for a long time. Knight Rider too.
yeah.
You know, that's half the reason people showed up for that show was
What's
the car.
like a modern example? I don't know if it's as much of a thing now. It would probably be seen as kind of corny now, but I feel like there
I don't-
probably is an example.
Obviously, there's the Batmobile.
They got the Mystery Machine.
Yep,
Come
Mystery
on.
Machine. I don't know in terms of new movies, like what new iconic cars. I mean, when Star Wars comes out, like the Razor Crest, like the new ships in Star Wars are always pretty big. You associate the Mandalorian with his ship, Han Solo with the Millennium Falcon.
But a car is a different thing because
It's
in
tangible,
your mind,
yeah,
you can
yeah,
feasibly own a car.
Yeah.
That car. So it's
cool.
I feel like it could appeal to more people on a different level. Like the wider audience is not gonna know what the hell you just said, whatever that model ship was. But they're gonna know, the
Yeah.
DeLorean, Pontiac Trans Am, that's a tangible
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, point is, movies with cars rule, and Back to the Future ended at the right time.
James Bond
James Bond
movie
now-
with a car.
Now that's This is one that is
What? James Bond is so weird.
it's almost the most interesting out of all of the out of all the franchises we talked about because
I remember what I wanted to say about Back to the Future.
okay.
If they were to, it's not appealing to the new generation. You know why? A movie about time travel. That's it.
And
Like
you
the
know
new
what,
Avengers movie is the new Avengers movie with time travel, and all these new movies have time travel.
Yeah,
Back to the
that's
Future
true.
is about time
That's
travel,
true.
so like it's not as interesting because it's more of a feature of a movie now. Time
And
travel.
even that was probably a throwback. They were probably thinking, "Oh, it's like the 1940s serials."
yeah,
about time
exactly.
travel.
Yeah.
They were. I bet if you asked them, yeah,
It's like you got X-Men. It's so overstimulating, the X-Men movies, and they also have time travel. To have a movie just about time travel might be a little slow.
yeah, and they only traveled to 2015, and now it's 2023.
Yeah.
So the whole movie, the movies are all kind of irrelevant now, in that sense. But James Bond,
Yes, yes.
is the most interesting probably out of all of these franchises we talked about because it has really managed to stay. It has never stopped. It has never ended, and has put out movies consistently for 60 years
Do very well.
now. But it's also, while it's an example of something not ending and going on, not going out gracefully, just going on
Yeah.
forever. It's also an example of changing with the times and change because
Yeah.
it hasn't stayed the same. These new James Bond movies don't feel anything
No.
like Doctor No or Goldfinger, and it adapted with every decade it was in. And there's also just a wealth of content with it, and
It's versatile. James Bond is versatile. Like you can really do anything you want. Like you make a new James Bond movie, well you want to introduce a new concept into it so it's different from the last. But James Bond has changed with the times, which
is-
kept it apparent, right?
this is so pretentious, but the role of James Bond is almost like a tuxedo that actors wear, and that the James
Yeah.
Bond is just the suit
Yeah.
that they're wearing, and it's just who's wearing this
Yeah,
costume.
I don't know. It's just a cool spy movie, and like there are other spy movies that tried. You know, a Mission Impossible wanted to become James Bond so hard, and trust me, Mission Impossible has done very well. It's known worldwide. It's pretty big, but it ain't no James Bond. Like my dad's watched and loved James Bond growing up, and it's still a thing now. It's still getting made, movies made now, but you wrote here it's very 20th century.
Well, yeah, I feel like now it's kind of dying out, and I think I don't know if they're done, but I feel like there's been talk about it being done.
They're gonna be passing the role on. Daniel Craig ain't gonna do this forever.
But it's very, but you know, a lot of movies are very white guy, especially the '60s ones are very white guy goes
Yeah.
to Jamaica, you know, and he takes care of everything and smacking women, and the other later movies are not really like that at all. So I guess it's not totally fair, but I do feel like it's very associated with a very 20th century time where everything felt perfect in the Western world, and I don't know if it feels as relevant to people nowadays. It's still doing well, but I
It
don't
goes
know.
over my head. A new one comes out, and I don't even think about going to see it because it's just really not that interesting to
But
me.
I don't know how much longer it'll be like as institution.
I can see James Bond going forever.
Yeah, but I just don't think it'll have the same relevance as it
I think
used to.
Daniel Craig is a big reason of like why it did so well in the modern days, modern times.
It's had periods where it's been pretty down,
Yeah,
too, where it's been really out of the conversation, and there's been times when it's been all over the place because Sean Connery. I should mention this as a side note. Sean Connery, he left James, so he was stopping James Bond, and he wanted to keep making more movies. So he just made his own James Bond movies that aren't canon, as the canon James Bond movies were coming out. So there was two James Bond series competing at the
Really?
same time. Yeah,
yo, there is like 25 James Bond movies.
yeah. I like the Sean Connery ones from the '60s, and I enjoy them. At least one from every decade.
Who do you think is the most famous James Bond? The most
I'd
recognizable?
say it's either Sean Connery or Daniel Craig these days, or Pierce Brosnan
Yeah,
in third.
yeah. It's interesting. I mean,
I would say it's Sean Connery and Daniel Craig are the two most. I associate when I think of James Bond, I think of Sean Connery. But
wow, this is just fascinating.
And okay, this is such a minute, stupid thing to talk about, but whatever. James Bond has some of the most badass opening title credits.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
what I
they
love
did
it-
that.
And
Yeah.
you know, it's one thing old movies have, like 70s and before movies have, that are just done so well, and we kind of lost it in the 80s and 90s going forward. Is big opening credits, and I just love like
Yeah.
when it's got the right song and the aesthetic looks cool with the lettering, and it's all done right. Oh, that's sometimes there's some movies where it's my favorite part.
This is the
And
opening. Yeah,
sometimes
strong
Doc-
opening.
yeah, and sometimes like Django Unchained is a good example of throwback where sometimes that's just my favorite part, that opening credit sequence. But Doctor No is awesome from Russia with Love. It looks really cool. Another example, Grease, actually.
Oh, yeah.
That the opening sequence, credit sequences might be my favorite part, and I love a ton of movies post 1970s, but I just think one thing we lost from before was just how cool opening credit sequences.
Doctor Knows the first one.
Yeah, Doctor Knows the very first one.
Okay, because I'm not too familiar with like James Bond, with the older James Bonds, but I remember Quantum of Solace was absolutely insane when it came out. It was pretty huge. Same with Casino Royale, but I feel like
Skyfall was really good.
yeah, I just feel like once Spectre came, it kind of lost its touch. No Time to Die was supposed to come out, but COVID messed with it, so
And Skyfall, by the way, that was a badass soundtrack.
Yeah.
Too. That movie
Yeah.
did really well.
yeah, it was pretty good.
That was a big thing, I remember in 2012. I haven't, but yeah, No Time to Die I haven't even seen. I've seen all of the 60s ones.
You have?
Yeah.
Really?
They were on Crave. I was going to try to watch all of them, but by the time... Oh, no, I lied. I've seen all the Sean Connery ones. By the time I got to You Only Live Twice, I was like, okay.
Okay. Well, that's still
Need a
respectable. You watched those ones.
But I've seen the newer ones and all the early ones.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm just like looking at all these James Bond movies here on
And I've seen, I think I've seen, and then I've seen like picked here and there. But like, I want to watch some of these more kooky ones like Moonraker and like Octopussy. And,
Yeah. You know, here's the thing. You just these like their movies are like so important culturally, and they're something that is handed down through like when you have kids, you're going to want to show the movies that you enjoyed, and they just have a special place in a lot of people's hearts. So like reimagining something is tough to do because you're reimagining something that people already have a connection to, and you don't want to do anything distasteful to kind of ruin the vision of the original one and ruin the taste of it. And there's a lot to think about. I feel like filmmakers should think about the fans because they're the people who make these movies what they are.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I'm not of that mentality.
You just think they should do whatever the fuck
I'm
they
just like,
want.
just make whatever you want. I'll critique it.
But
the
I
way
get that
want, But it's not up for
sometimes.
me to change them. You know.
I get that feeling sometimes. We say a lot like Hollywood executives just need to let the writers write.
Yeah, they need to let them write, but I don't think when the writers are writing, they should be thinking about the fans at all. They should be doing what they think is cool.
It's an
Because-
age-old
no.
debate, especially
The
with
problem
Star
right
Wars
now-
and stuff like that too.
No,
There's
here's
a
my-
lot to consider.
You're gonna get me emotional.
Go for it.
The reason we're in the world we're in now, where everybody has a problem of stale stuff being regurgitated, is
Yeah.
because of thinking of the fans. They got so obsessed with pleasing people that now they do the bare minimum. It has to be.
Yeah.
They're so obsessed with pleasing you. They got to do what do you recognize already. Does it have similar story? Does it have similar feeling, characters, everything? So to me, thinking about fans, God,
Look,
this
it's
mess.
obvious. Like fan service doesn't carry movies,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why you can't just make a movie based on the fans. But like, are you gonna say that The Last Jedi is good because Ryan Johnson did whatever the hell he wanted?
Yeah, but that's the point of art, though. That's the point, is to take a risk. There's
That's
always
why I
gonna
say
be something
I don't
that-
really like that movie, but I respect it because he
When
tried
you-
to make it his own.
When you try to appeal to fans, you're trying to appeal to too many people, and at the end of the day, that's when it becomes corporate product, because that's what corporations do.
Yeah.
Try to appeal to fans.
Yeah.
Focus group. According to our data, this is going to be the most pleasing, and if you're trying to please fans, you're you're going to get into that, right? And the whole idea of even continuing a series for years and years and years and decades is thinking about fans and is
Yeah.
pleasing fans because people want more.
Yeah.
That's something that's good. And I'm not against continuing on movies if that's what somebody wants to do. I'm just saying I would prefer just let's not think of the fan because I'm more
You know,
about
if you just think about the fans in terms of making a movie, it won't be good. But I just thought there has to be some. The people who showed up to the original movies, if you're making a new one, you want them to show up for the same reason. That's all that I really was trying to get behind.
no, for sure, right? Like, but then to me, if it's like if you can't keep that similar thing that keeps everybody coming up, well, it's time to move on. To
Yeah, I
something
absolutely
else, right?
agree
And
with
I
that.
mean, and look, I mean, I think you should think about your fans and everything, but coming up with
Yeah.
your content. I feel like you should appreciate your fans, be nice to them, want to accommodate to them, give them extra things to do. Like I love it when there's little extra content and interactive things for fans to do, all that stuff. And you should be appreciative of them. But really, your attitude should be, I'm going to make what I want to make, and if you like it, cool.
I
If
respect
not,
that.
cool.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's where all of the innovative work comes from. That's how stuff moves forward. That's right. At the end of the day, and I just feel like a lot of the stuff we complain about started from
Worrying
us, the
about the
fans,
fans.
complaining,
Yeah.
and them just trying to please us. That's what the
It's a constant cycle, and it's gotten even worse now with social media.
Yeah.
Everybody throws their opinion out in the air, and that becomes what the public's opinion is on things.
Want to hear a hot take because we're getting to the end?
Yeah.
Snyder Cut. I don't think they should have done that. I don't think they should have done that.
But why? It was just put right onto streaming, and it's harmless.
I know, but it's just like it just ruins continuity, and it's like it sets a precedent.
It does
now.
ruin
now
continuity.
it sets a precedent now. Now it's
Yeah.
like somebody's gonna take it further and be like, now okay, it'll be like how Kanye is with his albums now.
Yeah.
And the movie just keeps.
I like the original cut of the
we have
film.
4
Yeah.
different cuts of the same movie. That's what you put out. That's what you release. Look, did the Snyder Cut really save face for the movie at the end of the day? No, the movie still hated
because it just created more haters.
It
People
didn't-
thinking it's
yeah. DC's still in shambles.
Yeah.
They still lost a ton of money. Had to drop everything.
Yeah.
They should have just stood by it. And I'm not saying the Snyder Cut's bad, but they should have just stood by it. And
Yeah.
if you cave to fan service like that, it's a slippery slope.
And that gives people hope. Like when the Snyder Cut was a thing, that gave people hope that they would revoke the new Star Wars movies. Like,
Yeah.
decanonize them and remake new ones. And people thought that actually could happen because of things like the Snyder Cut. But
Like, it's
you
enough.
really think that Disney is gonna? They made billions off of the new Star Wars trilogy. You really think they're gonna revoke that and say none of it happened and remake it again? Like it's absolutely absurd the amount of work that goes into making movies, and you want people to just remake them because you don't like them. Go F yourself.
I don't want to get to a world where we have different cuts of the movies. or
Because
different
people are
versions.
upset. Like
Yeah.
fuck.
Different versions comes out,
Yeah.
or we start seeing stuff like how with the remakes they're remaking a movie that's 7 years old, where it's like now we're releasing a new cut,
Yeah.
a year later,
Yeah.
or 7 months later, or
Yeah.
right, and it's just so I just don't think
We live in an age where if a movie's bad, audience members think they have the authority to tell them to remake it because they didn't like it.
Yeah, no,
that's
that's-
absolutely insane.
they don't owe you anything in that department in that regard. Look, me and you love complaining. But I would never tell an artist to not do what they're gonna do, even if I hate it.
Yeah.
It's just like then I just
If
don't.
you
have to
don't
support
like it, deal with it because that's know.
And to me, the Snyder Cut was just something that could just become a slippery slope. And it's just from a whole, like, I guess, respect thing. It's like, you're not even going to stand by the crap that you put out. At least just stand by it and move on and try to do something
The thing
better.
is that Zack Snyder was the original like writer and director of the Justice League, and he did a lot of work on the movie. And close towards wrapping of the film, he had a tragedy in his family, so he stepped down. And Joss Whedon came in, and he was handed the movie. It was next to finished, but it was unfinished. He was handed it to him, and he made it his own, and then it was released the Joss Whedon Justice League. And Zack Snyder kind of got gypped a bit, and his vision was much larger, and it kind of got cut. So people wanted to see what his movie would have looked like. There was 2 Justice Leagues. I'll defend. There was 2, one made by 2 different people, and everyone wanted to know what Zack Snyder's was gonna look like.
I get it. I just disagree. I'm getting passionate here, but
It's fair.
to each their own. Right?
It was
But,
exciting though.
yeah,
Like,
I'm just not into caving to like the pressure. Like
and
to,
I
like,
can get
just make
behind
your own
that
thing.
too. Like,
Like,
it
just
does
move
set
on.
a bad example of
Yeah.
people thinking they can get their way when it comes to art. If you don't like art, is subjective, and art movies is art. If you don't like it, then it's just not for you, and you gotta go find something else.
Yeah. So like that's kind of where I'm at with that.
But the last thing I really do want to
yeah, what do we
say,
wanna
like,
end on?
we could end on something. What I want to end on for myself is, don't ruin the legacy of a franchise just to make a buck and just to bring something back. And remember what made the original special. And no one to end a series, for fuck's sake.
Look, I mean, keeping a franchise going long is a fine line to walk. Not many can do it. I think if you're going to do it, you approach it with caution, and you really got to.
With caution.
And you better not have a character that's tied to one person.
Yeah, that's when it gets difficult, right?
Yeah, but
some series you can't continue without its main protagonist, its main actor.
But but if it's tied to characters and just very specific details, I would say like I would prefer just know when to end it, and let's create something else, something more interesting. I don't want us to be loyal. We're too loyal.
Yeah,
in
we are.
entertainment now. We need to be
Loyal
we need to become
to.
assholes and just move on to the next.
We don't know these people making these movies, but we're giving them our money. So, like,
not people. People is the wrong. Because now it's all corporations that we're loyal to. I'm not gonna get too highbrow here, but it's all corporations. We're too loyal to these big corporations. Let's be loyal to small creators, and let's get some new stuff going in.
Yeah, I love new stuff. We talked about the
my
Terrifier
TED
a lot.
Talk.
Yeah,
But yeah,
a lot of these A24 films. Also, we've been wanting to talk about A24 films for a while. We're not going to talk about them today, but it's a good example of creative freedom when it comes to movie making.
Yeah, just a bit more to make a bit more variety, and kind of just focused on making a good movie and nothing else. Not selling toys or anything like that.
Yeah, the passion is there when it comes to movie making, and when you are a movie buff, when you like films, you want to be able to feel that in the movie you're watching. Creative shots, like your audience isn't stupid. Give them what they deserve. At least the price of admission for a movie now.
And it's not something that everyone's going to consciously notice, but it makes a difference, of course, right? Like it's all the subconscious thing. But I mean, at the end of the day, look, I feel like we definitely put ourselves in one position that we'd rather something end on a high note. I do think even if a franchise going long can be done in certain cases, but for the most part, it gets tiresome for me, and I want something else. But,
Yeah.
we still love these franchises. What do you guys think?
Yeah, what do you think? Like, what's a franchise that sticks out to you as something that has been overdone? I also wanted to kind of touch on The Walking Dead, but kind of ran out of time this week. But there are other TV shows
we
and
could go on forever.
series that have gone way too long. What season is Simpsons on now? Like, getting close to 30?
Yeah, it's got to be close to 30 by
That's
now.
nuts, man. Every week they still got a new episode because of Disney is now milking that cow. But that was the big rant. Stuff is just too overdone now.
Yeah, look, it happens in TV shows too. Same kind of deal. But I feel like The Simpsons is just such an institution that if you're still watching The Simpsons every week, you're just into Simpsons style comedy. It's like
and if that's what you come for, then sure, right?
I always make this comparison, but everybody's got their TV show, everybody's got their movie series, everybody's got their musician band. That's their shitty sports team, right? Like people will support a garbage sports team for decades. Us being from Toronto, we know a lot about that.
You
right?
really went there.
Not that I'm a supporter, but I'm just saying like other people are, right? So I have artists and band supporters that doesn't matter how bad it gets.
Yeah, I
I'm
get
gonna
that.
Support it. So I also get that mentality too.
Yeah, and if something's bad, I usually just chalk it down to like, oh, that's just not what I'm into.
Like I feel like you're like that with Star Wars. They could just keep.
No, but there's certain Star Wars that I really don't like.
No, you can still dislike it, but I feel like on some level,
It
like,
still
you
feels
can-
special
yeah,
to you.
But on some level, you can just watch it and enjoy it, even though you know it sucks.
I don't watch the
Or
new
is there some
movies.
stuff that is?
I don't
something
watch
that's
the
really
new
bad?
movies again.
Damn. But still, everybody's got those things. My point is, there's just there's things that you're willing to forgive to
Yeah.
a point, and I feel like it's like that with The Simpsons and certain TV shows. Anyway,
Yeah, we don't know what we're gonna talk about next week yet, but let's make something more on the positive note, because this was a pretty downer episode, just trashing on stuff.
You know, it'd be fun to
But
do a pod.
it's important.
you know, it'd be fun to do. This just came in my head. We could do a detour. We could do a podcast on podcasting. Talk about some of the podcasts that influenced us. Or we don't have to make that a whole episode, but part of it.
Yeah, we could do that for sure. Because a lot of people now want to recreate things that they watch and enjoy, and like more or less that's what we do. I don't watch any movie podcasts or whatnot. That's just us putting our own spin on it. But
Actually, yeah, I don't as much right now. But a music podcast has always been kind of a thing for me.
podcast for
Anyway.
me is a in the car type of thing. I don't watch a lot of podcasts, but there are people who like to throw a podcast on and just have it like kind of fill the room.
You know how weird I am? I'm so into music that I can't listen to music and
Yeah, and
do a lot of tasks
Yeah.
because I'll just to focus on the music too much. I analyze it way too much, right? But a podcast, I can do that and work. 'Cause
So there
I
you
can
go,
tune
that's
in
your
and out of the
thing.
conversation easily. But I find for most people it's the opposite. But
yeah.
or maybe I don't know. I'm stupid and can't focus on two things at once. But yeah.
But yeah, that's
Anyway,
that's
that's the
it. That's
episode.
it for this week. How much is too much? Let us know in the comments if you're on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, you're watching on Spotify, hop over to YouTube or our Instagram and let us know what you think of series that have just been absolutely juiced. And we'll see you next week. Anything else you want to add?
Speaking of getting juiced, when's GTA 6, guys?
That's a big thing. We're
We
gonna
can do this with video games.
we can
This
talk
is the
about
podcast that
games.
never ends.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Dude, GTA 5 is coming up on a decade old soon.
Yeah, no,
If it's not already, to come out in 2013, in September it'll be a decade old, I think.
I was thinking about it today, and it's like,
That is nuts.
and I'm not into video games, but I love GTA 5 so much, and I almost just looked at it as like a platform.
Yeah. No, yeah, I did
and
too.
it kind of is, right?
You get home from school and you hang out in GTA Online.
So
Like, I
the-
get it.
Yeah, the amount of potential like GTA 6 has, I get so excited thinking about it to the point where I would like buy a new gaming system to play this. But I know by the time it comes out, I'm gonna be at an age where it's like I either won't care anymore or I can't care. I won't have time
Yeah.
to like just play a game.
You know, GTA 5 has a really special place in my heart because it came out in 2013. And that was the year I started high school. This is the year we started high school when GTA 5 came out, and we pretty much played it throughout our entire high school career, you know? So it was our teen years, and that was the perfect time to appreciate it.
Like I'm not a big video games fan, but the first wave of playing that game I played with you guys online.
Oh my god.
And then,
It was
right, and
so
that was
much
just an
fun.
amazing fun time. You felt part of something. It was like biggest video
Yeah.
game ever. I tuned out for a while, and then came back on in the pandemic and stuff,
It's something you can revisit.
but
you
even
know?
in between, when I wouldn't have Xbox Live, whatever it's called
Yeah.
now, right? I would just play the game sometimes, just
yeah,
to like mess
that's
around,
something
even
you
though-
can mindlessly play. You got stuff going on, you can just go on GTA and have a drive and whatnot. But
And there was a scenario. This podcast going so long. There was a scenario you presented to me where you could have all the maps as one, and like that just would be.
yeah, so like GTA they've done like in-universe fictional recreations of cities. So there's been Miami and Los Angeles and New York and whatnot. So just imagine a new map kind of combining all of those cities
That's
together.
what I would want, right? Like to drive from Los
Yeah.
Santos to Liberty City, and
Oh my
be amazing.
god.
And if they
I
get
had the
up to-
thought, imagine if it's GTA 6 isn't revealed this year.
Yeah.
That would be, it has to be revealed this year. I think September 17th, I think, is the 10-year anniversary of GTA 5. I think they're going to reveal it then.
It's crazy. It's been 10 years.
But guys, listen, most of the time after a game is announced, it comes out a year to 2 years later. And there's delays a lot now these days. So
That's what I'm saying. And I just don't know if in 2 years I'm going to want to.
So
Like,
I think GTA 6 is at least 2 years away at minimum from today's date.
But I would love to. I get so excited thinking about it. I shouldn't think about it because it's just torture. But
I know. I don't think about it too deep, but right now it's really kind of getting to me.
Yeah. All right.
Man.
Well,
Yeah, that's it for this week. How much is too much?
is it though? How much is too much?
This episode is too much.
Yeah, we may have gone on too long.
But hey, if you're still here, you must be here for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So we'll catch you guys next week. We're kind of wanting to talk about TV a bit more. There's a couple shows.
The superior medium.
Yeah, Diego's a
2023.
freaking huge fan of TV.
2023.
We could talk about TV as a whole, why the medium is better. We could talk about a
Talking
show.
about why TV is better is because it doesn't make me seem like so much of a purist. I feel like we come off like purists.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, look, theater is an amazing experience, but TV still kicks its ass right now because you know what? I don't give a damn.
Because TV has time to tell a
looks better
story.
and it sounds better in the theater, but if your actual content is better, I don't care.
Yeah.
Then you can shove the theater experience.
Yeah.
If it's really that good. I didn't need to see Breaking Bad in the theater to know that shit was
Facts.
amazing. You know.
Facts. You watch it. I remember I was watching Breaking Bad in high school, and I was binging it. I'd be up at 4 a.m., laying in bed watching it, and like watching it in the theater wouldn't have improved that experience at all.
Yeah, exactly. Like when The Mandalorian first came on, they didn't need. Theater could have improved it, but it didn't need to be there. It didn't need to be there initially for me to like fully enjoy it.
But yeah,
Anyway.
that's all for this week. And let us know your thoughts, as we already said like 10 minutes ago. But let us know your thoughts on this entire subject. And we'll catch you next week on The Slime. See ya.
Bye.